So yeah, I see you're doing a lot of videos. Like you have a YouTube channel. What's the name again of your YouTube channel?
A Bulldog mindset.
So check it out, guys. Bulldog Mindset, amazing channel about business, mindset, how to be successful in life and in business, in every area. Actually, you talk about pretty much like you have a wide range of topics. I've seen like from business to how to be more attractive, more confident, right?
I basically focus on personal development for men. So, I teach us how to become men today. I think that's a really important thing that we don't really learn, right? It's, we get older, but a lot of guys don't ever learn what it is to be a man today, especially in society today. So, to me, that encompasses three main areas, which is, the mind, or really we could say like the mindset is everything that kind of encompasses all of it. But we've got the finances, right? As a man, you need to be able to make your own money and to be able to be successful there. The physical and health, right? To be able to get in shape, get the physique that you want, and then the relationships, getting the girls that you want, being able to be the kind of man that is able to be a man in relationship, whether it be dating or whether you're already in a relationship, and handling that, and acting like a man in that relationship. So it's really those three areas, but then all of it's encompassed by the mindset behind it, which is so critical.
Yeah, it's like a table, right? If you don't have one of the pillars of the table, it falls. You know, you need to have every aspect of your life intertwined, kind of. Yeah. And so, where did it all start? Like, where did you start this journey of personal development, of business? Like, how was it for you?
Yeah, so it was really unintentional for me. I started out as way back when I started out very shy, very introverted, and kind of overweight, lazy, none of the things that I ended up becoming. And and over time, what ended up happening was, certain things, I started to go down certain paths, right? From changing my appearance, physically, but not really changing mentally, which was a mistake. So it didn't totally change. I didn't change from the inside out. I was trying to change from the outside in. And I was a software developer for a long time. I started to learn some communication skills and learn to promote myself and to create my own podcast, beyond podcasts, create my blog, create a YouTube channel, and start writing. And I started teaching other software developers how to market themselves. And through that process, as I was teaching that and learning more about that, I started getting more involved in personal development, reading, books by Tony Robbins, and Think and Grow Rich, and all these
Yeah.
kind of books that really changed my mindset. These are kind of the books that most people that are in the marketing or sales realm, that they tend to read these books, because those books are in that area. And I realized that I was missing this huge part of my life, and so I started going through these transformations myself, and just from a personal development standpoint. And then somewhere along the lines too, as I started teaching guys, and I'd get more questions about being, have to actually start to put some of this stuff more into practice, because I started to self-examine. I started to look, and I said, well, you know what, actually, I've got a lot of fears. Actually, I wouldn't say that I'm a courageous person. I would say that, and I started to really examine, what does it mean to be a man, and sort of went on my own kind of personal transformation down that path. And as I discovered what it took, and what was missing from my life, it helped me to be able to teach the people that were following me. So it was sort of that, an evolution of that, not something that I intended, not a path I intended to go down, but a path that I suppose you could say was destined to go down.
Yeah. So it started also with women. Like you had some issues with women also about like being more confident, etc. Or was it mostly I mean, like business and life issues, like, or was it did it all start with women?
I think it was. I mean, I think that's one of the key factors, right? Because, and in most of the guys I coach, I think it tends to be true that it's rooted somewhere in that, right? Because it comes down to a confidence, but not just a confidence, but almost a self-worth issue. Whereas most guys are trying to achieve their validation, external validation from women, and by doing so, they're actually making it more difficult for them to have success with women. And so if a guy doesn't conquer this area of his life, then he can't really feel like a man, and he can't really feel like he has that validation that he needs, because the validation has to come internally, and that is going to come from the competency. So that was definitely a part of it for me. I was, at one point I was really had a lot of approach anxiety, and I was a chicken shit, right? I didn't go out,
Yeah,
and I had to overcome that. I had to learn to face rejection. I think that was just like an important lesson in life. It's just like learning to face up to what you fear and to face the rejection. It helps you, of course, with women, but it also just helps you in life, right? Because if you can conquer that area of your life, and then there's a lot of things that you can conquer as well, right? That you can conquer those fears. So
exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of commonalities between sales and how to attract women. I mean, like
mhm,
if you're the same reasons why, for example, a guy doesn't raise his hands at school because he had anxiety is the same
right.
reason why he doesn't go up to a girl in the bus station or something like that. Like it's the same kind of inner troubles that makes you socially shackled, right? So yeah, that's really interesting what you said. And I was wondering also, was it more an external work or also an internal work? I mean, like working on some trauma or childhood issues, or was it also like just going out and approaching women, or how do you conquer this fear? Like what was this?
Yeah, so really, there's no substitute for just going out and
Yeah,
approaching it, right? Like I think you can do all the internal work that you want. You can do all the external, buffering and shining things up that you want, getting in shape, but it doesn't change how you how you feel internally. It doesn't change that aspect of it until you actually go out and do it. There's just no substitute. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of guys try to avoid, right? I get all the time. I get emails from guys that are like, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do is I'm gonna make a lot of money. The women will just come to me. I won't have to go out and approach them. And they're trying to justify some way to overcome their fear. And I always tell them, no, it's not going to work that way. First of all, it's not going to work. That's just not the way that things work out, or how women are wired. And then, the other thing I emphasize to them is that even if it did work, you would still feel not quite complete as a man. You would still feel like if you have something that you haven't overcome because you're afraid, you're still not going to feel like you're complete. You're going to feel like you're missing something, right?
yeah.
You have to face this demon, and that's critical. So yeah, so it required, just going out and do it, and that's the only way to do it, is just to go out and go and face it, right? Because it's never going to get any easier.
Yeah, true, 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 true. So I was wondering also, what do you think about meditation, spirituality? Do you practice it? Do you practice that a lot? Because I feel like that helps too overcoming those kind of issues like spirituality and things like that, being present.
Yeah, so I've been off and on with the meditation. I've got this little device here that you put on your head, this Muse
Oh, yeah.
thingy, but it works pretty well. It kind of gamifies it a little bit. So I need to get back into the habit of using that. But I definitely notice the difference when I'm using that.
Yeah,
But
what is it? Is it like for brainwaves? Like it's for neurons? I mean,
yeah, it measures your brainwaves, so you can tell like when you're in, gamma state. So
yeah.
so you try to like get to that state when you're meditating.
Okay.
But
What is
yeah,
it
in
for?
general, I think that it is good to have, that present moment where a lot of what I practice is Stoic philosophy, and it's very similar concept as it's also mindfulness, right? It's this idea that you are not subjecting yourself to fate, that basically whatever happens and you can deal with it, and not depending on external factors. And I think that's critical, because then there's not very much that can knock you off balance.
Yeah, true. And like most of your business is online, right?
Yeah.
And you started by, how did you start your business, and what kind of business right now, like, what kind of business are you?
Yeah, so I started way back before. What one of my businesses is that I do real estate investment, and I started back when I bought my first house, and that was an intentional business. But then the rest of the business hadn't really been intentional. So one of my other businesses is called Simple Programmer,
Mhm.
and that is for software developers, teaching soft skills, communication skills to software developers and career development skills. And that business actually I started just from a blog. I was working at a company and I started a blog just talking about software development. And as that blog grew and became more popular, I ended up putting Amazon affiliate links on there, and then eventually I ended up selling my own product on there as I grew my email list, and that became a business, in itself.
Yeah,
So
nice.
that's really how that one
Yeah.
one came about, and grew that, and then Bulldog Mindset was more intentional. For those getting more and more questions and more personal development type of questions, especially about dating advice and for men, for young men especially. And so I decided to pull Bulldog Mindset off as its own brand and to build that business focused on that. So yeah, so the first one, like I said, Simple Programmer was really unintentional. It was just I didn't know what I was doing, but Bulldog Mindset has been a lot more intentional in setting that up.
Okay, so you have, yeah, real estate, Bulldog Mindset, and simple programmer. That's the main
Yeah.
business. I see. Yeah, and you don't give a lot of. Do you give seminars sometimes? Can people see you in seminars, or do you do some public speaking, or it's mostly?
Uh, yeah, I did more in the past. I haven't done as much recently. I'll be speaking at Menfluential next year in February.
Okay. Cool. And what do you think about? I was just wondering, like, because we were in the topic of women too, but what do you think about this whole no fap movement? Like guys that are
Hmm.
stopping, stop watching porn, etc. Do you practice it, or like is it a scam? Like, do you? I don't know. Like, because some people they don't fap like for 100 days or 200 days. It's almost like they're gonna have magical powers if they don't fap. I don't know. So what do you mean?
Here's the best test of it, right? If you go on YouTube and you look up the guys that have the videos on no fapping for 100 days, or some guy was like on some, I saw some interview where was no fap for like 2 years or 3 years or something.
Yeah.
Just look at those guys. Do you want to be like those guys? Like, do those guys seem very masculine? Do those guys seem like they're now getting super pathetic losers? Like,
Yeah, it
honestly, like
depends if
that's
they're having sex with women regularly. I feel like you can maintain like you can if you have sex with one or two women a week. I feel like you don't really need to fap, on porn or something.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I agree with the idea of cutting out porn, right, as much as possible, and with the idea of no fap, but it doesn't give anyone any kind of superpower. It's more of just a mental discipline, and also of not giving yourself, or like forcing you to go out and get like and conquer, and to go out and get what you want rather than just having it right
Yeah,
there. So I'm in agreement with the concept, but
it doesn't.
not with the the idea and the culture behind it, and the value. Like, it has value. Important. It's a crutch that allows you to get something that you want without having to go out there and get it into the world. And so, if you practice it because you don't want to use a crutch, that's great. If you practice it because you think somehow it's going to make you, improve you in some way, it's ridiculousness. Because you look at the guys, like I said, on YouTube, you can see the guys that are the big practitioners of, and bragging about it. And yeah, these guys are not, they haven't improved their testosterone or their situation by any degree. They've made things worse, in fact, because they've gone more monk mode than anything. They're not going out and getting laid. So you have to use the thing for the right reason, right? So the reason why, as a man, you should be doing this is because you don't need this. You don't need something that is going to be used as a crutch. Go out if you want to go get laid, you're going to go out and get laid. You're not going to go and turn to porn, and that's the reason to do it, not because you think that it's going to give you some kind of superpower or is
Yeah,
is some kind of bragging rights.
totally
It's
agree.
not.
Yeah, yeah, true. And yeah, it depends if it comes from desperation, like someone that's really like, if someone's really not successful with women, or that's not even taking action, if he's relying only on this to get like his needs met, that's a bad thing. But if it comes only like from inspiration, sometimes it's totally normal. And I was wondering, what was the biggest mistakes for you in business? If you have to come back to all these years where you've been building those businesses like Simple
Mm.
Programmer, Bulldog Mindset, real estate business, what kind of like the biggest mistakes you've encountered during that journey till now?
So they're kind of related to each other. So one of them is using myself as the brand, creating a celebrity brand. Now for Bulldog Mindset, it's fine because I want to do that to some degree, but with Simple Programmer, and I mean, you could even say with Bulldog Mindset, but really with Simple Programmer, I became the face of the company, which was not a good idea because it required me to constantly be there producing content, right? Which is put you on that kind of treadmill of content production, and also it makes it hard for the business to scale without you. Along with that, kind of along the same vein, the other big mistake would be producing too many products, right? I recently heard someone say that you shouldn't produce your second product until you're $1 million business, and that I think that's pretty. What ends up happening when you have a lot of products is that you don't have a clear marketing message and a clear marketing channel, and you've got a lot of different funnels, a lot of different ways to sell your products. It's better to just have one channel that you expand in order to sell something, and that's one of the key mistakes that I'd say I make, because you can scale up a lot better when you only have one thing that you're distributing, one thing that you're marketing, one thing that you're promoting for the company. And so I've done a little bit better with Bulldog Mindset. Really, there's two primary things. Is one is the Bulldog Mindset membership, which is like a $30 a month membership, which is the primary thing I'm promoting. And then the only other thing that you can really buy from there is personal coaching, which I do one-on-one coaching, but it's really focused on delivering one thing. And so that's been a lot easier. It's a lot easier to maintain as well. With Simple Programmer, there's a lot of products out there, and that made it really difficult to grow past a certain point. So
Okay, yes. So first, the first mistake would be the scale. Like you mean not scaling before you get a certain revenue. You said like $1 million. No, no, like you focusing on one product and not diverging in too many products.
right.
Um, what else would you say, for example, to your 20-year-old self?
Well, I get, focus, right? Focus on one thing, right? And that's the key. Is And again, this is all related, but focusing on one particular thing is as small as possible. Trying to do multiple things at once is not a good plan, right? And
So
even just
true.
with the content, with creating things, right? In a business, you really want to be able to have the business run or operate without you. Don't want to be the key player in any piece of the business, right? It's difficult because your ego says, "Oh, I want to be the star of the show," or I want to, no one can do it the way that I can do it. But in reality, it really limits the business, and it makes it a less valuable business when it's dependent on you.
Yeah, because then you can't really sell it because you need
Right.
systems, you need to delegate, you need yeah. Now, I was wondering, what was the like the top habits that really helped you this year's achieve your level of success?
Yeah. So really the biggest one is to be able to work without motivation, which
Mhm.
is really difficult to do, I think, for a lot of people. And what it means is that whether you feel like it or not, whether you feel motivated, you
True.
have to still do work and get it done, which is it's easier to do when you're working a regular job, right? Because you just clock in and you kind of have to go to. But when you're working for yourself, it's a much harder thing to do, especially with the business, especially when you're building a side business and you're working a regular job. but it's the one thing I'd say that is the most required for success, because you may be excited about whatever you're doing. You may be excited about whatever business that you're creating, and you're going to be excited at first, but eventually you're not going to be. Eventually you're going to hit a point where you don't want to do this anymore, and you have to push through it. And the only way to push through it is to develop that habit of being able to work without having the motivation of just doing it, whether you feel like it or not.
I totally agree with this. Yeah, but that's a mindset habit. What are, for example, the tangible habits that you're applying in your daily life?
Well, one of them that I do is I plan out my week and I plan out my days. I use a system that I created that of a weekly planning system that's kind of a combination of the Pomodoro technique,
Mm.
and what I do is I plan out every, all the things I'm going to tasks I'm going to work on during that week, and that's something I've been doing for several years, and that has been critical to my success because it helps me to know exactly what I need to be doing at any given time.
Yeah, yeah. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I mean, yeah, it's the key. And do you always plan tomorrow today?
I usually have the entire week planned out on Monday.
Okay, perfect. And what's I know you read a lot of books and you're still reading a lot of books. What's the best book so far you ever read? I know it's a tough question because me too, I'm a heavy reader, and there's many books you like. But what's the best book so far that's impacted you the most?
Hmm. It's tough to say. I think probably the one that's impacted me the most is Stephen Pressfield's book, uh, the War of Art.
War of Art.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I know
yeah,
this one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't read it. Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's a really good book because it's all about motivation and in really like the idea that we're fighting against, this thing that is trying to stop us from achieving our higher purpose in life, which which we all fight against this, right? Of not feeling like, you know like we want to go on, like we want to keep on doing this thing, right? That the procrastination, it's really a book about overcoming procrastination, which is really the biggest thing that stops us in life. And that was a critical book to help me to get past difficult times.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Because you're one of the first person that gives me this book like as the top. I should check it out. Okay,
Mhm.
interesting. And what is something you think everyone should do at least once in their lives? I
Hmm.
know it's a tricky question, but
What should everyone do at least once in their lives? Let me think about that for a second here.
from all the experiences you've had, you've seen, you've traveled, what's like the
I would say to live somewhere, abroad, whatever it is for you, somewhere in a foreign place for at least a month at a time, to really experience what it's like to be somewhere else.
and you recommend to do that by yourself or with friends or whatever like.
I don't know if it matters. I think either is fine.
And where did you go yourself? Did you go somewhere yourself for a month, like alone, or even with the?
Yeah, I've been a few places for sure. I spend a lot of time when I go to travel. I usually try to stay a minimum of 3 weeks somewhere. So, I've been to all over Europe and to China, and and spent a lot of places. I spent a
Yeah,
month or so
yeah.
in
When
one
you stay
spot.
a lot like that, you must have seen a lot of cultural details that you couldn't have seen if you're staying just like a few days, like all the
Right.
tourists. Yeah, true. So yeah, John, what do you think about college?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I think it's a big waste of time and money. And and it's changed, right? So it used to be that colleges were the places or universities where you could find knowledge and you could find information,
Hmm.
and that was the place to go because that's where you had the cutting edge information, and if you wanted to learn about some subject, that's how you did it. But today that's not the case with the internet, right? You can find way more information in books, online, and YouTube videos for free that you could get in college. So it doesn't make sense. So the question you have to really ask yourself is, why are you going to college? Like, what are you trying to do now? If you're trying to be a doctor, okay, or even perhaps a lawyer, that's fine. Obviously you need to go to school for that, and you need the training, and it's more than just knowledge, and you can't just find that stuff online, right? And you have to be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
licensed, and but you, but if you're just trying to get a job, let's say as an engineer, as a software developer, as whatever it is, you're trying to go into sales, you're trying to build a business, what are you actually hoping to get from college, right? Or are you hoping to get a degree so that someone can hire you for a job, right? So you're just looking for a piece of paper, right? What are you actually trying to do? Are you trying to learn something, right? You should always have a purpose in what you're doing, right? And I just don't see the purpose. I don't see any reason why someone says why you would need to go to college in order to learn whatever it is that you're trying to learn. Like I said, aside from being a doctor or lawyer or something like that, where it does actually require medical school. But too many people today are just getting a degree just for the sake of getting a degree, but they're
Yeah.
forgetting that the whole purpose is to learn something. And it's just the most effective way to learn, right? I would even go as far as to say that if I were starting out today, I wouldn't even get a job. I wouldn't be interested at all in getting a job from someone else. I'd be creating a business from the very, very beginning and never working for someone else.
Yeah, and what if you don't have the money in the beginning and you wanna do like a part-time job and at the same time building your business? How about this formula? Because sometimes it's
Well,
kind of hard if you have
it doesn't
no.
really require money to.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. You're the expert. What do you think?
I don't think it really requires money to build a business. In fact, if you're spending money to build a business, especially today online, you're probably doing the wrong thing, right? The businesses that I've built didn't require any money to build them. They just took time and dedication, and I think that's the key, is that you've got to be able to put in the time to do it. And and that's everything. I always say that the minimum that it takes to be successful at anything is 5 years. So if you're not willing to devote 5 years to something, then you're not you're not going to be able to be successful at it, right? You need to be able to develop or devote at least 5 years to something before you can expect to be successful.
Yeah, that's a good metric. 5 years. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And I feel like also college. I mean, if your parents are paying college and at the beginning you're not sure what you want to do, maybe instead of wasting time, it could be a great idea for networking and learning some things while self-educating. Because that's what I did, and I feel like I don't regret anything because I didn't lose money. I had a
Mhm.
lot of contacts, and plus I it allowed me to build my business while my parents were paying. See what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely it's not you it's not that it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just you have to make the choice. You have to have a good reason for what you're doing, right? And it doesn't matter, could you have been more successful if you used that time to just work on the business? Maybe. I don't know.
probably, yeah, probably short term, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, I asked most of the question I want to ask. What's the most annoying question people ask you in this kind of interviews?
what is the most annoying one?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. What would it be like? Maybe asking like, what is the secret to success, or something where it's there's
Yeah.
no answer. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I see what you mean. But what would be the how do you see yourself in 10 years? What would be the next goals you have, or the next step for you? For people listening right now, you should follow Bulldog mindset. But what should be your top goals for the next years?
Yeah, for me, really, you know, I think it's just to really expand and reach more people with Bulldog mindset. That's really the goal. Like as far as big financial goals, I don't really have big financial goals. I'm already kind of financially independent myself.
Hmm.
Obviously I'd like to build the businesses more, but really, yeah, it's really just to reach more people with Bulldog mindset.
Yeah, so it's mostly impacting people, changing people's lives, and coaching.
Yeah, percent.
Cool, cool, interesting. So yeah, John, thank you so much for your time. And guys, for you that are listening, check out his channel, Bulldog Mindset, his Instagram too. What's your Instagram? Bulldog Mindset too? Is the same?
Yep, Bulldog
Okay,
mindset. Yeah.
check out his Instagram, Bulldog Mindset. Awesome videos in both YouTube and Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Take care.